Just over a mile in length, New Hampshire Motor Speedway's oval is a classic paperclip design with long straightaways and tight, flat corners. Not surprisingly, the track rewards cars that have plenty of power out of the turns and brakes capable of getting things slowed down at the end of the straightaway. Not to mention drivers who can baby those brakes from start to finish. With an oval hosting a full slate of NASCAR competition, including the NASCAR Cup Series, NASCAR Xfinity Series, Craftsman Trucks, ARCA, NASCAR Whelen Modifieds, and a road course that's home to a variety of SCCA and vintage sports car events, as well as motorcycle races. Tonight, it's the Num Thumbs Racing League Late Model Stock Tour, and it's next on HBR TV. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the virtual New Hampshire Motor Speedway, race number 11 of the Num Thumbs Racing League Late Model Stock Tour. 115 laps the race distance here tonight. 78-degree ambient temperature, 45% humidity, partly cloudy skies, barely any breeze at 2 miles per hour. Track temperature still a little toasty, 118 degrees Fahrenheit. Drivers working with a 60% fuel load here tonight and 2 sets of tires available over the wall. No fast repairs to be considered this evening. 3 attempts at a green-white checkered finish. That would be possible if necessary. Practice in the books. Qualifying just wrapping up here from the Speedway. Let's go down trackside to see where everyone's shaking out. Chris Klein, the only driver on the track right now, and really only a few other drivers left to qualify. Joe Bennett, Jarrett Woodard, and newcomer James Lee. Speaking of newcomers, another familiar name to the series, Brian Rose, in action here tonight, qualified here in the 10th position. Chris Klein runs third quick on his laps. 31:49, a good qualifying effort for the 51. And that may just do it here. 30 seconds remain in the session. I don't expect Joe Bennett, Jarrett Woodard, or James Lee to hit the racetrack here before the session completes. And if they do, it doesn't matter. They don't have enough time to get to the green flag before this one kicks off. So it looks like Zach Millett is going to be your pole sitter here from Loudon, New Hampshire. And just like that, qualifying in the books, we are ready to take a look at our starting grid. On the pole position with a lap time of 31.382 seconds, it's the 3:15 of Zach Millett. Outside front row, missed it by just over a tenth of a second. It's the number 29 out of Carolina, it's Jesse Sperling. Row number 2, it's the 51 of Chris Klein, flanked by the 8 of Dylan Bryant. Starting in the 5th position, it's the 10 of Jared Barclay. 6th starter will be Rhett Tucker, the number 99. 7th starting position goes to the 72 of Curtis Cairns. Cairns out of Canada. Joe Tucker will start in the 8th position, the Hostile Intent Gaming number 101. Derek Welch, better late than never, but he is here in the number 1. He'll start in the 9th position. Outside that 5th row, it's the number 89 of Brian Rose. Jesse Redding in the 721. He'll start in the 11th position with Scott Milner, the number 31, starting 12th. 13th starter, it's Kevin Winker, the number 42. Tommy Janikowski will be to his right elbow in 14th. Tony Plakanica, the 113, starts 15th with Russ Endicott, the 57, starting in the 16th position. 17th starter is Tate Cawthorn. 18th goes to Jarrett Woodard. 19th, 00 Joe Bennett with James Lee, the number 54, starting in the 20th position. Your starting grid here from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Field parked on the front stretch here. Should be rolling momentarily. And unfortunately, folks, looks like we're having a bit of an issue here with Trading Paints. So I don't think any of these paints are going to look the way that they're supposed to this evening. We'll see if we can get that corrected here. Stay with us. Well, we got it squared away here. New graphics configuration here with the iRacing update. Just kind of wiped everything clean, but we got everything up and running here. Again, it looks like we've got everybody squared away. Not 100% sure if Jesse Sperling, the outside machine there, has got the correct paint scheme on it for his liking, but it's the one we're going to go with. So that's what he's running right now. Field out to turn number 4, Barney with the green in hand, and we are racing from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Turn number 4, Zach Millett with the race lead. Back to start finish. Jesse Sperling runs in the second spot. It's Rhett Tucker, Chris Klein, and Brian Rose. Brian's already up 5 positions since the green flag fell. Field on a turn number 4 once again. Millett still with the lead as we watch the battle here. Jared Barclay and Chris Klein. Klein, the number 51 on the bottom. Barclay, the black and red number 10 topside. Still watching this fight, Chris Klein and Barclay. Klein loses it off the bottom just a bit, slips up the racetrack, stays off of the door of the 10, but that does open up an opportunity there for Brian Rose. To the outside, the black and orange number 89, the RS12 Esports entry. That's Brian's IROC Series paint. Millett still out in front. Currently fastest car on the racetrack is the number 99 of Rhett Tucker. His lap time of 31.71, almost a full tenth faster than race leader Zach Millett. Meanwhile, Barclay has gotten clear of Chris Klein. That battle settling down just a bit. It is early yet here, 115 lap race. We're on lap 6. Barclay up 1 position into that 4th spot. In behind them, though, Curtis Cairns and Derek Welch doing some battle. Welch up top, the number 1 NTG machine. Down low, the 72 of Cairns. In behind them, the 31 of Scott Milner. on board with Curtis Cairns. Cairns down a position, running in the 8th spot. Derek Welch just recently taking that position away. Oh, we got a spinner out of turn number 2. Tony Placanica in the grass, still trying to get righted here. Looks like he's going to get moving here. We'll stay under the green flag. Nobody else coming anytime super soon. And we stay under the green flag. Placanica now finding himself at the back of the pack. He's qualified 15th here tonight. Running now 20th. Battle for the 2nd spot. Rhett Tucker to the inside of Jesse Sperling through turns 3 and 4. Sperling still hanging tough on the outside. This place, it's relatively flat, but it is very wide at each end of the speedway. Lots of different lanes and grooves these drivers can choose as they get in and out of the corner. Oh, a little bit of contact. I don't know if Sperling turned down or Tucker came up, just bumped the 29 a bit. Shoved him up the racetrack, but doesn't really slow Sperling down as he hangs on to the spot for now. Rhett Tucker relegated still in that 3rd position. Watching the battle here now for the 4th position, heating up once again. Chris Klein on the attack, trying to take it away from Barclay. Meanwhile, Brian Rose is taking a peek to the inside on Chris Klein. Has to stay tucked in behind, but Derek Welch, he gets to the back bumper of Brian Rose as well into turn number 1. Looks to the outside. To the inside, Derek Welch trying to take the spot from Brian Rose. This is for the 6th position. Looks like Rose has gotten that part figured out here. He had Welch taking a peek to the inside, but Brian's picked up the pace here. Now he's refocusing his efforts on the 51 of Chris Klein. That'd be for the 5th position. Klein, though, still focusing. It looks out front on the 10 of Jared Barclay, but Rose slips up the racetrack just a bit, trying to build a run out of turn number 2. Zach Millett still out in front of this field here, but not by a wide margin. It's maybe a car length plus back to the 29 of Jesse Sperling. The field works back into turns 1 and 2. Millett in command here. He's led all 14 laps to this point. Next time by, we'll have 100 circuits to go, 100 miles to be exact. Following up here on the stream chat, I know we got a late start there. We got tower operator, Chastity Tucker, realtor. We had Lisa, we got Lori. Thanks for checking in, everybody. And Lori confirming here that the paint scheme on the 29 is intentional. I was wondering if we had a trade and paints issue, but that is indeed the paint scheme that he planned on running based on Lori's comments. Makes me think of watermelon bubblegum for some reason. It says Ada J's. on the back. Blooms and baskets. I got a feeling that this particular company on Sperling's car gets awfully busy at Easter time. That's just a hunch. Very colorful race car, though. Looks good, especially I like those green wheels. Klein still running in the 4th position. Jared Barclay is 5th. They've swapped running order here in the last couple of laps. Brian Rose now looking to do the same. He wants to take that spot from Barclay into the inside. Or not. Stays tucked in behind the 10 of Barclay. Rose taking a look. Ryan is there just to the left rear of the 10, and Jared Barclay down the back straightaway. No, has to tuck back in behind. Still watching this battle. Derek Welch has fallen off just a bit. He was closing pretty rapidly in the early stages, the first handful of laps. Has slipped just a bit off the back bumper of Brian Rose. The deficit about a 10th, but it certainly looks like more than that. Ryan closes the gap back up to the 10 here. Still working on Barclay down the back straightaway. Now Brian switches it up here, goes to the outside and turns 3 and 4. May have the run here off turn number 4. Carries that down the front stretch and he gets clear. So move Brian Rose up a position into the top 5. Barclay relegated to 6th. Derek Welch going to reel him in here. We'll see if Derek can do anything with the 10 as well. That'd give him another spot if he could. Biggest mover on the day, at least to this point, is the 3 of Tate Cawthorn. He started 17th. He's just one spot outside the top 10 in 11th. Scott Milner a little loose out of turn number 2. Keeps it straight down the back straightaway. We stay green. No issues. Top 3 under a blanket down the back straightaway, starting to put a gap on 4th and 5th. That's Chris Klein and Brian Rose. Millett, Sperling, and Tucker in a league of their own at the time being. Millett's last lap falling off from this fastest lap of 31.79. It's a 32.19. Last time by, though, a little bit slower, a 32.33. His Sperling was a 32.30. Rhett Tucker was a 32.32. And looking at 4th and 5th, Chris Klein and Brian Rose, they've picked it up. They're the faster of the top 5 drivers at a 25 and an 08. We got Lisa in the chat, says, Sperling is my son. Go Ada Jays, Bloom, and Baskets. Like I said, it certainly sounds like that company is going to be awfully popular here in the coming weeks with Easter on the way. Right on board with Rhett Tucker to look at the back of that Sperling entry, the Ada Jays. Looks like they're out of Chesney, South Carolina. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Well, Derek Welch hits pit road. I don't know if Derek's just calling it. I know, he was a last-minute late ad. Got home from work awfully late. Wasn't sure he was going to make the field this evening. In the pits, not taking tires. He's still in the... Oh, he is taking tires. Right sides are in the air. Still seems a little bit early. Maybe he's trying to get onto a different cycle as everybody else, but nevertheless, a 4-tire change here under green. He's going to lose a ton of track position and likely a lap. This is one of the bigger racetracks that we go to in this series. Usually they're bull rings and tiny short tracks. This a little bit over a mile. And it looks like Derek might be stuck in the pits. Derek Welch still on pit lane here. This could be a problem. I don't know if there's a glitch after this most recent update or if he's just done. Nevertheless, back out front. Top 5 now in a group, all equally separated. Millett, Sperling, Tucker, Klein, and Rose. Rose still working on Chris Klein. Looks to the outside out of turn number 4, but nothing doing there. Derek Welch filling us in the chat says he lost force feedback. That's never fun to race with. Hottest battle on the racetrack, at least for the time being. It's Chris Klein and Brian Rose. Right on board with Klein as he looks back at the 89. Brian drives it in deep, tries to swing to the outside, but nothing available. He's still in that outside line, though. Might carry some momentum, but Klein back on the throttle and just a little bit sooner. There is some grip there on the exit at turn number 2 down low. If you can find it, it's a great way to get out of that corner. Speaking of positions changing, Rhett Tucker to the inside of Sperling into turns 3 and 4. Sperling going to cross over, take a look to the inside. Don't think he's going to have enough of a run to get alongside. No, he doesn't. Sperling now slips back to the 3rd spot. And man, does he have his hands full. He's got Chris Klein there all up in his rearview mirror. Klein's got it pinned down to the yellow line mid-corner. Meanwhile, Brian Rose way up the racetrack. He might have got the outside wall there. Looks like he did. Brian Rose with some damage to the right front of that number 89 machine. Curious to see if he sustained any mechanical damage to that race car. Meanwhile, Curtis Cairns in pit lane, right side tires in the air. Relatively early pit stop for Cairns. He was very quick in the practice session early on. Again, taking a look at that practice session, he was second fast to Zach Millett, only a 10.5 off. Cairns down and away, a long stop. 4 tires and fuel. Russ Endicott has also completed a pit stop. And here we're another battle for position. Chris Klein to the inside. Still not able to get clear. Sperling battling back. This is the battle for the 3rd position. Brian Rose, though, he's closed in on both these drivers, just trying to make a decision. Which one do I follow out of here? Klein was trying to take the spot from Sperling, but now he's going to lose the spot to Brian Rose, but does drive it in pretty deep. Are we going to go 3 wide? No, Brian Rose is going to think better of it. Tucks in behind Sperling. Crosses over, takes another look to the inside of Chris Klein. Rose looking a little aggressive here in the early stages. 3 wide into turn 3. Who's going to lift? It's Sperling. Sperling drives it down the bottom of the racetrack, gets the left sides almost below that yellow line. Thought he was going to make a look to the inside. That's fair territory down there at the bottom. This is not a super speedway, so you can pass below that yellow line if you can make it stick. Millet continues to lead. He's now got just over a second on second place. 2.5 back to Klein, 3 back to Rose, and 3+ to 5th place Jesse Sperling. And 38 laps complete. Tires starting to fall off. And when I say fall off, I don't mean that literally. If you're new to watching races in general, tires starting to fall off really translates to they're starting to go away, starting to lose grip. Race car starting to lose pace. You can't really attain the lap times that you had early on in the run. As an example here, Rhett Tucker's fastest lap of the race, so he runs in the 2nd position, was a 31.71. His last lap was a 32.35. So we're over half a second slower than we were to start this race. All that's really tied into the tire wear and the track temperature. Track temperature 121 degrees. It's a little warm. That does accelerate the wear on those Hoosier tires. It's right on board with Zach Millett. Let's see what kind of fuel strategy he's working with here this afternoon. Thought I heard him cut the engine off that last couple of corners. We'll see if he does it down into turn 1. There it is. Lifts off the throttle, coasts to roughly the apex of turns 1 and 2. Back to the gas on exit, carries the speed down the straightaway, and while he's doing this, he's actually increasing his advantage. There it is, more clutch, more coast. Effectively, you extend the energy of the fuel used in that moment. You're wide open down the stretch, you build up all that energy into the race car, and then you just let her coast. Technique is called just what it sounds like, lift and coast. It's a very effective strategy, not just on road courses where I think we really see it the most, because there's much more opportunity to do it with more than just 4 corners, or in this case, there's 4 corners, but there's really only 2 sections of the racetrack where you're lifting and slowing down for the corner. Millett going to cross the stripe here to be lap 43. It's been green since the drop of the green flag. No yellows to speak of to this point. Fingers crossed we stay that way. Maybe 1. We'll take 1. 1 at like lap 59 would be great. Scott Milner hitting pit lane. Milner finishes up his pit work. 22.7 second stop for the 31. That's likely 4 tires. If it was 4, it's a pretty impressive time. That's a quick in and out. Tate Cawthorn's last stop, though, is at 12:68. I cannot imagine that's just right side. I'm sorry, that's just fuel. Very well could be. But I'd imagine you'd want to take at least right sides in that instance. Tate's completed his pit work, and he still sits in 14th. Remember, he started 17th. I think he was running about 11th at the time of his stop. Joe Tucker in pit lane as well. Chastity Tucker, Realtor number 101. Right side tire change. Drops the jack. Crew goes around to the left. No, just a 2-tire change for Joe Tucker. He's down and away. 16.4 seconds. Curtis Cairns running in 17th. This is a battle for position, even with Tucker. Tucker alongside, but with cold tires on the right side, just getting out of pit lane. And Tony Placanica going on by. That was not for position. Placanica running in the 12th spot on the lead lap. But for how long? Zach Millett looming in the background about a half straightaway away from these drivers. Placanica, the last car on the lead lap, running in the 12th position. Jesse Sperling from the top 5. He makes his pit stop here at lap 47. Ooh, locks it up a little bit in the pit box. Gets him on a bad angle. I don't know. No, he won't have to back up. He might need to back up to get out of the pit box, though. It's hard to see with the angle that he is at. Now he gets it righted. Right side tires only for Jesse Sperling. Interesting strategies here. You got a lot of drivers taking 4 and some other drivers opting for just 2. Looks like we've got 3 takers on the right sides only. Looks like Jesse Sperling, Tate Cawthorn, and Joe Tucker. Everybody else, 4 tires. So maybe that was the first domino to fall. That was Jesse Sperling coming to pit lane. He did lose a lap in that exchange. But everybody ahead of him, Tony Placanica all the way up to Zach Millett, they still need to make their pit stops. Lap 50 goes up on the board. I can't imagine Millett's going to try and run this another 8 laps. If he does, he can make this a one-stop race. I know he was saving fuel earlier. Let's see if he still is. Yep, he's still saving a lot of fuel. And meanwhile, since he started to save fuel, he was about a 1-second advantage over Rhett Tucker at the time. Now finds himself with a 3-second advantage, and he's lifting and coasting into both ends of the speedway, into turn 1, into turn 3. I don't know. That might be his play here. I think that could be the situation. I don't know what they were planning on getting for fuel as far as the full race distance was concerned, but here we are 51 laps in. Half the field has made a pit stop. A little more than half, that is. That's let's see, 9 cars have made a pit stop here. 10 if you count James Lee, who's in the pits right now. James number 54, Caterpillar car. He's going to take rights. And he's going to go a 4-tire change for the 54. Now, frankly, if I'm Zach Millett, regardless of whether I'm trying to make this especially if I'm making it a one-stop race, I'm going to make sure that I take 4 tires. Yeah, you're going to spend an extra probably 10 seconds in pit lane, maybe 9 if you're lucky. But he's got a 3.7 almost seconds advantage over second place, so take that off the additional time. And then knowing that you're going to have a full load of fuel and fresh rubber on your race car to make it all the way to the end, knowing that you made that pit stop past halfway. Yes, he's still going to have to save some fuel, but as we've mentioned here, he's still been able to save every single lap and increase his lead. Still out in front here now, 4 seconds ahead of second place. Rhett Tucker, Scott Milner. Milner not on the lead lap, running back in 17th. Chris Klein still holds the 3rd position. Brian Rose is 4th. Dylan Bryant now back in the 5th position. Got 9 cars and it's still yet to come to pit road. That's Zach Millett, Rhett Tucker, Chris Klein, Brian Rose, Dylan Bryant. There's your top 5. And then Double O Joe Bennett, Jesse Redding, Tony Placanica, and Jarrett Woodard. Those are your top 9 drivers. Ironically, the only driver still on the lead lap. Still needing to come to pit road, but Jarrett Woodard, well, he was running back a lap on the lead lap, but now Millett has gone by him, even Tony Placanica as well. So now we've only got 7 cars on the lead lap. Next one on the chopping block is the 721 of Jesse Redding. I think he's just got to stay ahead of Millett here for a couple of more laps, because I am pretty certain that as soon as Zach gets past halfway, he's going to come down pit road, take on a 4 set of tires, and top off the fuel, knowing that he can make it to the end. Now, he can make it to the end, but if we get some late race heroics or late race chaos, for that matter, we get some cautions. We talked about it early in the broadcast. 3 green-white checkers available. Zach absolutely would need to pit to make those. Now, could he go an extra? Could he go 1? It's tough to say. I guess it's going to determine how many more laps he stays out here past halfway before coming to pit road. Is he just trying to make that very bitter end, or is he going to stretch this as far as the tank will let him? If I'm him, I'm going to go until it coughs, and then I'll come to pit road. Lap 58, we are just now past halfway. We still watch Zach Millett out in front of this field. Some other of the leaders have come down to pit. Rhett Tucker and Brian Rose specifically. They're both on pit road. Chris Klein from 2nd. He's coming down into pit lane as well. Zach Millett into turns 3 and 4. As it stands right now, Zach Millett, Chris Klein, Jesse Redding, the only cars on the lead lap. Zach Millett, the only driver to not pit. Everybody else has completed their pit work or is on pit lane, and Zach Millett owns a lap to himself here right now. He's the only driver on the lead lap. He's the only driver not to pit. He's made it to lap 60 on his first tank of fuel. He is really pushing the envelope here from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. We'll see if he comes down and pits this time. I'm telling you, it will not be long before we see Millett hit pit road. Everybody else has completed their stops, and here he comes. Gets her woed down, hopefully to pit road speed. Now with that, of course, some drivers are going to get that lap back. So it will take Millett some time. You want to approximate, it's roughly about 50 seconds you spend in pit lane if you factor your time to get in and out, plus the pit work itself. Right side tire change, Zach Millett. Again, I'm expecting a 4-tire stop here. Oh, right side's only. I think he might have had to wait on fuel. So in reality, it would have only been another 6 seconds at most. It could have been 4 to change the left sides as well. But Millett gets back out there, maintains the top spot. He could have changed 4 and kept the lead because he comes out here about 9.8 seconds ahead of Jesse Sperling. Definitely had some insurance built up there. Millett, I think, missing the call here, really should have taken 4. We'll see if that hurts him later on, but Millett back out there with the freshest right side tires and plenty of fuel to make it to the end of this race. And he's already saving. You can hear it already. He's checked up, coasting through the corner, already in fuel conservation mode as soon as he gets out of the pits. His first half of the race has run under the green flag without a single caution to speak of. The only near miss was Tony Plakanica. A half spin out of turn number 2 early on, but gathered it back up, and he remains in this race, 17th, 1 lap down. With that, we're halfway here from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Zach Millett still leads. We're going to go HBR TV side by side. Stay with us.
I met Marco Scarza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We needed sponsors to help us raise money, and he's always the first one to jump in. I would describe Marcos and his team as upstanding, someone you can trust, and he is just a genuine guy.
Marcos has been very generous. He has a genuine concern for people. You need somebody that cares about you. And that's what Marcos is, and that's pretty much what this firm is.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
I met Marco Scarza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children.
Back in New Hampshire Motor Speedway, Zach Millett still in command of this field by 9.3 seconds over second place running machine Rhett Tucker. Tucker started outside the top 5 in P6, but very quickly worked his way into the top 5 and then the top 3. Now runs second, but unable to cut into the time, the deficit that Millett has him under. Jesse Sperling still running in that third position. He is 12 seconds back from Zach Millett. Watching Jesse Redding here as he's just ahead of Zach Millett. Millett about to lap the 7:21. Jesse, the last car on the lead lap for the time being. James Lee would be next on the list. Jesse's still about 5 car lengths ahead of the 315 in turns 3 and 4. Last lap for Redding, a 32:21. It's actually a tick faster than Zach Millett. Millett ran a 32:27. And this time it switches up. Millett with a 32:32, Redding a 32:52. And you see the gap has shrunk slightly. It's now about 4 car lengths back to Zach Millett, the race leader. Jesse's going to try and run as hard as he can here and cross his fingers for a caution. Teammates or otherwise, Jesse does not want to go down a lap. So if he can catch a caution here, he can get that lap back around here. He's not a lap down yet, but he would get able to cycle back around to the back side of the field if the yellow were to come out right now. But we haven't had one all night. Again, still fingers crossed. Let's knock on wood. It's Tommy Janikowski staying out of the way here. He goes top side. We're going to have a battle here in just a moment. Millett with a big-time run out of turn number 4. Gets alongside of Jesse Redding at the line. Redding maintains his position on the lead lap. Not for long. Millett gets in, gets clear. Now, Jesse Redding, the first car, 1 lap down. He's not totally stuck in the woods yet. If a caution comes out now, he would get the lucky dog, so he'd still get the lap back. But Millett's going to reel in the next driver here pretty soon. I think that's the 54 of James Lee, just up ahead, about a half straightaway down the racetrack from Zach Millett. And Zach still saving fuel, coasting through these corners. Only concern I have for Zach Millett if this runs green all the way to the end is he knows he's got enough fuel to make it to the finish, but does he have enough left side tire? I don't know if those left sides are going to take 115 miles of abuse here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, especially with this hot track temperature at 120 plus degrees Fahrenheit. That could burn him later on. He's still got plenty of racing left. About 38 laps or so. Still, Zach does have a good advantage over the 99 of Rhett Tucker. It's almost 10 full seconds. We're talking about a third of a lap. So Millett can really be conservative here. He can just maintain that gap. He'll be in good shape. Tucker still running in second. Brian Rose finds himself up into the 3rd spot. First time he's occupied the top 3 here today. Brian Rose, admittedly, not a fan of New Hampshire Motor Speedway and just about anything that he's run in, but we have seen him win here a couple of times. The Spirit Class Auto Racing, I believe it was a Next Gen Cup Series race. Don't quote me on that, I have to go back and look, but last lap pass, contact was made with him and Bobby Hamilton Jr. Brian came away with the win. And then he backed it up again, I think, in a Truck Series event later on, about a year later. Still not a fan of the place, but he does, for whatever reason, run pretty well here. Kevin Winker is going to hit pit road. This will be his 2nd stop of the afternoon. So here's the thing with Kevin Winker here. He's going to come to pit road. He's going to take certainly fuel to get to the end. Right side tires for starters. We'll see if he takes all 4 because he's going to be able to go hammer down 101% the rest of the way. Haven't seen a whole lot out of Kevin Winker here this afternoon. He's been lights out at a lot of these short tracks this season, right up there in the top 3 every single week. But here he is, this bigger speedway, New Hampshire Motor Speedway, at just a hair over 1 mile. Not having a bad day by any means, but didn't have a stellar qualifying attempt. Started tonight 13th. Currently shown in the 16th position after the pit stop. But again, 4 tires and fuel. Kevin Winker should be able to pick up some more spots before this one's over. Not to alarm anybody, but Zach Millett starting to shed a little bit of lap time here, and not in the way you would think. It's going up and not down. Last lap for Millett was a 32:29. Rhett Tucker was about a tenth faster at a 32:20. But Tucker still 9 seconds in the rears. He's got work to do. He's going to need more than a tenth here, a tenth there. He's going to need a second here and a second there for quite some time before he's even going to be in a position to battle Zach Millett. Rhett's still having a strong run here regardless, but we've seen him on some of these short tracks this season. The smaller they are, it seems that's his specialty. Really gets around these bull rings on the schedule quite well. We'll see how he fares next week at Myrtle Beach. Myrtle Beach should be right in his wheelhouse. Chris Klein having a strong run once again here, solidly in the top 5, running in the 4th position. Jesse Sperling, contender for the top spot earlier on this afternoon, runs back in 5th. Sperling started the outside front row, just missed that pole position by about a tenth of a second. In behind Sperling, it's Tate Cawthorn, still the biggest mover on the racetrack here. 11 positions gained from the drop of the green flag. He's started in 17th, runs in P6 as Scott Milner comes to pit road. So does Jesse Sperling. Final stops of the day underway for some of these drivers. Sperling and Milner both. Not the first to come down. I think the second and third to come down pit road. Sperling's going to take right side tires at a minimum here. Again, a little bit slower pit stops. You see how slowly the car goes up on the jacks. Late model stock, I wouldn't call it a cheap series by any means. It's certainly expensive to run here and be competitive, but it's certainly nowhere near the cost that guys are spending in the top 3 premier series of NASCAR, the Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. So no competitive pit stops. You don't have paid pit crews here. They're just paid crews, period. They work on the race car, they pit the race car. Kind of how it was back in the old days. Same road guys that come out to tune the engine and get the car set up. They're the ones changing the tires and throwing the fuel in. That's the same situation we have here in the late model stocks. So Sperling back out there. It's shown in the 11th position. Still positions to be gained. Tate Cawthorn just made his pit stop. He's completed it. That's done. I think it was fuel only, though, for the 3. And everybody else ahead of Sperling, outside of Tate Cawthorn, on a one-stop strategy or maybe a splash and go later on, but they have yet to pit for their second time. We know Zach Millett's got the ability to go to the end, at least if we finish in regulation time. As we run, 00 Joe Bennett, the last car on the lead lap. 25 laps to go here from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Zach Millett leads over Rhett Tucker, Brian Rose, Chris Klein, and Dylan Bryant. No, we are not going to a commercial. We'll stay right here to the finish. We got our one side-by-side break out of the way. Millett, though, still saving fuel. I don't know if he started the race this way as far as the fuel save is concerned. But I know as soon as he exited pit road here, after that first pit stop, and his only pit stop, he was immediately in fuel save. So if that's the case, if those first laps of the race, he wasn't saving, he was still able to go to about lap 60. He might be trying to get a little extra insurance just in case there's that late caution. Set us up for a green-white checkered finish. He may have enough for at least one. Jared Barclay, we spoke much about early on, running in the top 5. He's on pit road. Right sides go up in the air on the 10 machine. Crew goes around to the left, still waiting on fuel. It's going to be a 2-tire stop for Jared Barclay. Still waiting on fuel, though. Waiting. There's still a 25-second stop, and their left sides never came off the ground. Maybe he burned them up already. I don't think so. He's only made 2 stops. Yeah, that was the second stop. So there's still a set of left side tires over the pit wall. Now, there's a lot of reasons he could have opted to do that. Sometimes the handling is a little bit better on these cars if you just take rights. The left sides, they kind of wear like iron. Frankly, these Hoosiers in general, they kind of wear like iron. But it was kind of a free 4-tire stop. If you're going to spend 26.2 seconds in the pit box, you might as well bolt on 4, because we've seen some guys get 4 tires in 22 seconds. Actually, Dylan Bryant was able to do it in 21.23 seconds. He banged that out real quick. Millett maintaining the lead here, still about a 9-second advantage over Rhett Tucker. It's kind of teetering to 8.9 to 9.0. Brian Rose still running in the 3rd position. He's got Tate Cawthorn working around the outside here, but Tate's running in 8th. Just trying to get up some track position here, work their way back towards the front of the field, trying to get the laps back that they have lost. Cawthorn still having a strong run, though, in the 8th position. Joe Bennett and James Lee, though, they're 6th and 7th. Both of them up 13 spots on the day. Coming to 18 laps to go. James Lee now is going to hit pit road. Two tires and down the road for the 54 of James Lee. Very quick 12-second stop. Didn't waste a lick of time once the right sides hit the ground. That was his signal to go. Millett, every corner on entry, still lifting out of the gas, pushing in the clutch, letting that car just roll to the apex. Kevin Winker up a couple of spots from qualifying, running 11th. Brian Rose with some pressure now. Chris Klein, a car length and a half off the back bumper. He's got 16 laps to go. I really think Klein can get to and then by Brian Rose here. He's been so strong the latter stages of this season. Really coming into his own when it comes to this late model stock. Klein is right there, looks to the inside, down into turn number 1. This for the third position. Klein got there, has to lift a little bit earlier as Rose able to carry that speed and momentum through the midsection of the corner. Great exit down the back straightaway. They're going to have to contend with some lap traffic here momentarily. Rose now a car length, maybe 2 now back to Chris Klein. On board with Brian Rose, looking back at Chris Klein. Klein still trying to find a way around. Rose doing a good job holding off Klein here for the time being. I don't wonder if Chris is just saving his stuff here, finding the right moment to make the move. Rose slips up the racetrack a bit in 1 and 2, though, opens the door for Klein. There's the opportunity Klein was looking for. I think Rose just missed the entry into turn 1, opened up the door for Klein. They drag race down into turn number 3. Klein has the position, still not quite clear as Rose battles back on the outside. And there it is, Klein. I was going to say he was clear. He was clear through the middle of the corner, but the momentum carrying Rose back around. Klein's going to have to work a little bit harder here, see if he can get clear out of turn number 2. And there he goes. Now with 11 laps to go, Chris Klein solidly back into the top 3. Brian Rose slips back to 4th. Still Rose having a strong run here, started 10th. Currently 6 cars on the lead lap. 00 Joe Bennett. Last car on the lead lap for how long, though, with 10 laps to go. I got to wonder if Millet is going to catch and then pass the 00 here in the next couple of laps. Joe made his pit stop at lap 56, so he's 4 laps older as far as fuel and tires are concerned with Zach Millet. I know Joe's probably saving fuel too, but I really don't know if he's going to have enough to go to the end. If he pit at lap 56, he's going to have to save just to get to the finish or come down for a splash and go. Millet takes a peek to the inside. Joe goes up the racetrack, gives him all the space he needs. He's going to tuck in behind, maybe sniff a little bit of a draft, even though there's not a huge one here. There's enough to make some difference. Unless you're in a Tour Modified, then it's pretty significant. Watching a modified race here is like watching the Cup guys race at Daytona. So now we're down to 5 cars on the lead lap. Dylan Bryant running in the 5th position. He's still 26 seconds behind Zach Millet here with 8 laps to go. Brett Tucker has now slipped to a 10-second deficit in that 2nd position, though he still carries a 5-second lead over 3rd place Chris Klein. He can probably ease off here, take care of his stuff for a little bit if he needs to. Certainly not in a position to reel in Zach Millet right now. Last lap for Tucker was actually a 1/10.5 slower than Zach as he continues to save fuel. I don't know, sometimes I've seen this with drivers. If they're in fuel conservation mode, you've heard people say it in the past, if you slow down, you go faster. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it's just the fact. You know, sometimes you push too hard, you get too aggressive trying to turn a good lap time, you make mistakes, you abuse the race car, you get the tires hot. Well, if you're just trying to save fuel, well, that's not an aggressive thing to do. Again, Zach Millett's strategy to that, as we said early on, just lifts off the gas, pushes in the clutch at the same time, lets the car coast effectively all the way through turn 1, picks up the throttle again in turn 2, and then coasts again all the way through turn 3, and then picks up the throttle just as he gets to turn 4. So 2 out of the 4 corners, Zach Millett not using any fuel other than what it takes to just idle the engine. 5 laps to go. And going to make the assumption here he's going to be good to go. He's been saving since the drop of the jack at the end of his first pit stop, and that was past halfway. So if he's doing what he's doing, without a caution, should be clear sailing for the 315. Klein running in thirds, not really gaining any ground on Rhett Tucker at this point. Tucker and Millett ran identical laps the last time by. Chris Klein was 300ths shy of it. Meanwhile, Brian Rose about a full second off that time, a 33.27. Dylan Bryan in fifth, a 33.15. See Bryant still about a half straightaway ahead of Zach Millett. He may be able to hang on, stay on that lead lap here as the laps wind down here from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Zach Millett still in command. He's led every lap to this point. Even during the pit stop cycle, he stayed out longer than anybody else, completed his pit work, came back to the racetrack still with a 9-second lead, and he's extended it now to 10.6 seconds with 2 laps to go. Millett off of turn number 4, looking for a white flag. Next flag ends it. No caution, no green-white checkered. Millett just needs to get back around clean and green. He'll lock himself into another win here in the Numb Thumbs Racing Late Model Stock Tour. Zach Millett in turns 3 and 4 for the final time. Still saving fuel just to be on the safe. Back to the gas off turn number 4. Zach Millett's going to win at New Hampshire, stacking trophies like cordwood here in the Granite State. Zach Millett, your race winner. Rhett Tucker around the corner here. He's going to finish up in the 2nd position. And Chris Klein back to the main straightaway. He will take home 3rd. Zach Millett, your race winner here from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Dominant performance, leading every lap from the pole position. Zach Millett, your race winner here, parks it on the start-finish line at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Dominant performance by that S4 guy, the 315 in victory lane yet again here in the late model stock tour. We're going to step aside, get a break out of the way, and be back with our top 3 finishers after this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I met Marco Scarza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We needed sponsors to help us raise money, and he's always the first one to jump in. I would describe Marcos and his team as upstanding, someone you can trust, and he is just a genuine guy.
Marcos has been very generous. He has a genuine concern for people. You need somebody that cares about you. And that's what Marcos is, and that's pretty much what this firm is.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, race number 11 of the Numb Thumbs Racing League Late Model Stock Tour in the books. Zach Millett with yet another dominant performance here tonight. Pull the driver of the 315 up into the broadcast booth and get a word with our race winner, Zach Millett. Zach, it's Steve with HBR TV. You got a copy?
Hey, Steve, got a copy.
Zach, congratulations, man. Dominant win here tonight, a one-stop strategy. Looks like you and a handful of others made that work out here tonight. Not a single caution to speak of. This place obviously a lot bigger than some of the short tracks and bull rings we've run throughout the season. What was the preparation like coming into tonight? Now, you guys usually put in some practice time prior to the main session coming in. Did you know you could make it a one-stop strategy, or was that something you kind of worked out and figured out throughout the course of the race?
I don't know. We knew it was going to be pretty close. I think the flyer, the original late model stock flyer says 65%. So I went out there and it was going to be close on that. And then when we got to race time, it was 60. So I was like, oh man, it might be just out of reach, you know. But the first 15 or 20 laps, I think it was, Jesse Sperling and Rhett Tucker, man, they were right there. I couldn't save a drop. You know, I had to kind of stay right in it just to stay ahead of them. One thing I didn't practice was like if dirty air affected you or what it was like to, you know, get stuck behind somebody and not being able to pass. So I kind of sent it those 15, 20 laps to stay ahead. And after, you know, we built a little bit of a gap, I started shutting it off and trying to save. And man, I think we could pull probably 65 laps out of that thing, maybe 70 laps if we were really, really saving. And yeah, it worked out, man. I'm pumped.
Yet another race win, a little fuel snafu, but looking at the schedule here, 65% fuel for next week at Myrtle Beach. 60 was the planned percentage this evening. But speaking of Myrtle Beach, what are your thoughts on Myrtle Beach? I know we haven't run that place a lot. I know personally, I don't think I've ever run there in anything in competition, maybe a couple of practice laps. But what's your take on Myrtle Beach next week and a chance for yet another win?
Oh man, I don't know. I gotta buy the place first. I don't think I've ever run there with anything. So it's going to make an interesting finale. It's the one thing I hate about the playoff thing. You know, we've had a great season, man. It's been awesome. And it all still comes down to one race. And I think over here there's like 10 people going for the championship still. So you still got to keep it together and, you know, put in the work to have a good last race, or it was all for nothing. So we'll put the work in, you know, get some laps in with our HBR guys. And yeah, man, we'll give it everything we got to keep this thing going.
So with that said, knowing we've got 10 drivers that are eligible next week, what is the game plan for next week? Is it about qualifying? Is it about strategy throughout the race? Is it a little from column A, a little from column B? How important do you think track position is going to be?
I don't know. That's a pretty good short track, isn't it? I'm not super familiar with the place at all. But if it's anything like most of the races on the schedule, the track position is going to be huge. Passing is going to be, you know, next to impossible, it seems like. Qualifying is going to be, you know, huge, absolutely huge. You know, we're probably going to put just as much time into a hot lap for qualifying that we do for, you know, a field strategy or a long run. If we can, you know, get out front and stay away from the chaos, you know, we run zero fast repairs now, so that's awesome. It'll keep everybody careful, hopefully, and yeah, man, it'll be something.
Well, Zach, congratulations yet again, a dominant performance here tonight. Pole, led every lap. I don't know about fastest lap yet. We'll check that later. It looks like Rhett Tucker may have been the recipient of the fast lap tonight, but nevertheless, still a really strong win here tonight. Going to carry that momentum into next week at Myrtle Beach, man. Who do you want to thank before we let you get out of here?
I got to thank you, Steve, and HBR TV, HBRTV1.com, Track Bar Media, HBRShops.com, Castle Products, let's see, Martin Sports, Numb Thumbs Gaming, Amco Transmissions. I got to thank everybody watching your stream tonight, everybody that hopped in my Twitch tonight. Big thanks to Vince Short tonight, man. He gifted a whole bunch of subs, so shout out to him. And yeah, give us a follow over on Twitch and YouTube. That is for guy.
Zach Millett, your race winner, man. Thanks for talking to us. Good luck next week.
Thanks, man.
Next, we're going to talk, well, we can't talk to our runner-up, Rhett Tucker. Rhett, a solid top two. Finishes in that second spot. Started sixth here tonight, but unfortunately, Rhett did not join us here in the broadcast booth post-race. So we're going to move on to third place driver. That's going to be Chris Klein. We'll pull the driver of the number 51 into the broadcast booth, making the pass on Alfie Charon. Brian Rose late in this race, taking that position away, getting himself into the top three. Chris Klein, it's Steve in the booth. You got a copy? Chris Klein, it's Steve with HBR TV. You with us?
Yes, sir.
There we go. Chris, congratulations, man. A strong run. You started third, you finished third. Bit of a battle late in the race with Brian Rose. Walk us through that. It seemed that he might have just missed the entry into turn number 1, washed up the track a bit. You took advantage. Took you a couple of laps to finally get clear, but then it was clear sailing after that. Anything you could have done differently here tonight, strategy-wise? I know Zach Millett's tough to guard just about everywhere that we go, but did you have anything for Rhett Tucker if maybe we got a late caution?
I thought I did. Rhett's extremely fast. He's right there with Millett. I mean, he's a half a tenth off, if that, everywhere we go from Millett. And that first run, I had finally caught up to him, and my confidence level was way too high for where it should have been when I caught up to him. And I got to his inside, and he called out that he was going to go to pit road. And I ended up pitting, but I didn't want to slam on my brakes in front of him to go to pit road as he was calling it out. So I went another lap. And when I came back around, I was sputtering all the way down pit road. So could it have made a difference? Maybe. You know, I probably lost a couple extra seconds. And I think when I came out, I was 3.5 behind Rhett. And we were even going in on that that only pit stop that him and I made. I would have liked to have seen how that played out, but I'll take it. 2 weeks in a row on a podium, I'm more than happy.
We said it during the broadcast. You've really been coming into this race car here as the season begins to wind down. Have you really gotten comfortable driving this late model stock?
Yeah, I think the bigger tracks suit me a lot better. Just having a little more room to work with. And I am very trying to think of the right words to use. I do not like affecting other people's outcomes in any way, shape, or form. It bothers me to no end when I affect somebody else's night. We all come to do this to have fun and enjoy it and camaraderie and whatnot. And when I make a mistake that affects somebody else, it absolutely eats me alive. So these little tiny tracks where we're bumper to bumper, and is the way these cars are shaped, and you touch somebody, I'm just very timid to run up right on a foot away from somebody, because if their braking point's a little bit different than mine and I touch them and they go around and I run their night, it just sits with me for days and days and days. And I know as a true racer you shouldn't be that way, but that's just how I am mentally. And so yeah, these bigger tracks give you a little more leeway to have some options for lanes and techniques to get around people without having to be right on top of them, and you can make a mistake and not have to worry about ruining their night.
Yeah, these cars are certainly a blast for sure, but yes, you say it's not a racer's mentality to think that way, but I think it kind of is. You know, if you pride yourself on going out there and being a clean racer and getting it done with pace alone and not roughing a guy up, I think that's the racer that everybody wants to be. They want to be fast. They don't want to be the guy that just dumps everybody for that top spot. So I would disagree with you, Chris. I think that is a racer's mentality, to do it the right way, not wanting to wreck somebody's night. So good on you. Obviously, the way that you're doing it, it's working here. You've been up in this top 3 a bunch this season. We've got one race left, though. Myrtle Beach Speedway next week, just over a half mile. Not quite a bull ring by any means, but how do you feel about this car on that track at the season finale next week in Myrtle Beach Speedway?
I haven't even downloaded it yet, so it ought to be interesting. I'm expecting it to be a lot like, I'm trying to think of the other one. Is that maybe Rockingham? That's really, really rough. I know it's a much older track, so I'm assuming it's going to be a very rough track and bumpy, and traction's probably going to be one of those issues coming out of the corner and stuff. But I've never driven it, so I have no idea what to expect. But we'll see. We'll have to download it this week, try to get some laps in, and get comfortable before we get there.
I've tested an ARCA car there. It is a fun racetrack. We did run some races with the MX-5s, just kind of a hosted session just for fun. It was a blast in those cars, but you're right, it is old. It is a little bit bumpy, so it couldn't be a challenge, but I think if you get a handle on it, I think you're going to have a good opportunity next week for maybe another top 5 or even a top 3. You never know, maybe even a win and a championship. Are you eligible next week?
I think so. I think I'm in the hunt. I think tonight, I'm pretty sure we reset going into the last race. I'm not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure it resets, so it'll be best finish wins. So who knows? Maybe somebody will accidentally take out Millet and give somebody else a shot.
Well, Chris, either way, a solid run here tonight. Fun to watch. Congratulations on that third place finish. Who do you want to shout out to before we let you go?
Thanks to everybody at NTRL, all our sponsors. Love the entire organization over there. Love being a part of it. Want to thank Dale's AAA Blinds and Hunter Douglas for getting that car out on the track and putting on a good show. Again, shout out to my mom and my aunt who we have on the deck lid there. They're still ongoing with their treatments, and everybody that's in this league. You know, we've all come a long way, I think, since the beginning. I mean, who would have thought that between Bristol and here to have as few cautions and no cautions tonight? And you know, we've had some rough races, but we've also had some really good races. So just compliments to all of them, and thanks to you for the great broadcast. Love going back to watch them and enjoy them.
All right, Chris. Well, thanks for the kind words, man. Again, congratulations. A solid run here tonight. Wish you the best luck next week at Myrtle Beach Speedway.
Thanks, sir. See you there.
Chris Klein, your third place finisher here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. That's going to wrap up the interview portion of our broadcast, as we weren't able to get Rhett Tucker in the booth. But let's take a look at our race results. Coming up now, Zach Millett, Rhett Tucker, Chris Klein, your top three. Brian Rose was fourth. Dylan Bryant came home in the fifth spot. Double O, Joe Bennett was P6. Our hard charger of the night was Joe Bennett. Passed 13 cars on the racetrack to take home that sixth position. Started 19th here tonight. Strong run for Double O Joe. Jesse Sperling was seventh. Strong early on. Started outside pole. He finishes in that seventh position. Eighth went to Tate Cawthorn. Joe Tucker was ninth. Jesse Redding, the 721, rounds out the top 10. Jared Barclay in the 10, finished 11th. James Lee was 12th. Kevin Winker finishes 13th. He'll be hard to guard next week at Myrtle Beach. Scott Milner was 15th. Curtis Cairns 16th. Tony Plakanica finished in the 17th position. 18th went to Tommy Janikowski. 19th, Russ Endicott. And last but not least, out of this one early with no force feedback in his wheel, Derek Welch will be credited with the 20th place finish, 89 laps down. Thank you guys all for tuning in here tonight. Very calm, cool, collected race here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. No chaos, no cautions. Green to checker without one incident to speak of. Strong run for this league. Good to see. I know sometimes the excitement lies in the crashes, but just not meant to be here tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in to the stream chat. Tower operator, Chastity Tucker, Realtor, Lisa and Lori, and Derek Welch and Shauna Rita. Thank you guys all for being here tonight. I know it wasn't crazy as far as the chat goes, but either way, I do appreciate your presence. If you haven't already liked the stream, click that thumbs up. Help us a little bit here. That pushes this stream out to wider audiences. It helps us. It helps the league. It's just a bonus all the way around. So thanks for doing that. Check out the website as well, hbrtv1.com. Click the live tab for today's races, and we'll take you right to our page. I don't think I got it posted there today, which is a busy schedule with the day job, but nevertheless, most days you can find it there. Thanks for watching, everybody. Congratulations, Zach Millett, on the race win here tonight. We'll see you at the next one, guys.